a quick look at some of the projects that are on the go with this Orkney Renewable Energy Forum. They've got a YouTube channel, so if you search for OREF, Orkney Renewable Energy Forum, you'll see videoed versions of their meetings. And there was a very, very interesting one about the renewable future and possibilities for Orkney, including Scapa Flow. It's a 2-hour meeting, so I've distilled 6 minutes of highlights. Obviously, if you want to know more information about that, go and watch the meeting. It's very interesting. It's just way too long for us to get into this program. So here's some highlights. I'll link to the main meeting in the notes.
This map shows the areas where the existing ScotWind round is distributed, and that's the solid red squares. The open red squares show territory that's being bid on at the moment under what's called the INTOG round, and the orange open squares show an indication of where future capacity to get up towards 100 to 150 gigawatts could be placed. That's, in physical terms, the scale of the opportunity, and the question is how can Orkney best react to that? And Scapa Flow, as we'll hear in the other presentations, is a key asset because it's the largest natural harbour in the Northern Hemisphere.
The existing sites that are ongoing at the moment, sites that are being built, that are being developed at the moment. So this is going to be something which is more innovation-based, small scale, less than 100 megawatts, as you can see in some of them. So very much going to be looking as the startup and maybe even as a pathfinder for some of the larger scale developments. Scapa Deepwater Quay, Hassenpier, as we're going to call it, Orkney Logistics Base, and also Lyoness. Technical details of that, which you can see in the models and that. It's basically what the industry wants in certain places. Huge land area, a laydown area, deep water around it, and a quay to put alongside or somewhere to come alongside. That's the requirements of offshore wind. We're very lucky that we have, as Gal said, the largest natural harbour in the Northern Hemisphere. So this is obviously the proposal from Orkney Island Council. You all know Hassenpier, it's a straightforward extension, but this will make 685 metres of quay length at 10 metres of water depth. It will not be a huge, massive 685 metre cruise terminal, but will give us a space to do cruise and other things as well at the same time, linking that infill area to the shoreline so that we can actually make a well-spaced, well-designed, well-thought-out area where we can do operations. Lyoness is part of it. Lyoness is a key part of the development. It's a huge space, it's a huge area which can be used for laydown storage. And it does obviously have a good key on that at the moment. It is an absolute asset, and there is going to be work going on there, I think, because you need to store a huge amount of chain and equipment, and Lyoness is absolutely ideal for that. Flotter Hydrogen Hub's separate project on west of Orkney, with Repsol and Total working on that, but a key cornerstone, because as we see the number of oil ships leaving Flotter, that then declines. We don't want to see Flotter close. We don't want to lose that income ourselves. So there is actually an opportunity. This is a new facility that you don't know, close to the Arnish Yard. It's going to be connected by this new road that runs along. It's got 6 hectares of laydown area. It's quite limited, hence why they're having to look at cruise. It's going to have a ro-ro berth on as well. But if we look at how that was funding, the breakdown of funding and how the model of funding for port infrastructure, and where we as a council, have to put pressure onto different departments. You can see there's 11.8 million from High, 1.8 million Marine Scotland's. The Port Authority, 1.5 million invested in that, and 33.9 million from the council. But that council funding was backed by the Scottish Government through a growth accelerator mechanism.
The West of Orkney wind farm. So this is our kind of vision, if you like, our sketch of how we think the project will progress. So we secured the rights to develop the site from Crown Estate Scotland back in 17th of January last year. But it's a 2,000 megawatt site, so that's 2 gigawatts. It's enough to power approximately 2 million homes. It'll be up to 125 turbines, which would be around 28 kilometres to the west of Hoy. We're looking at 2 offtake options. So grid connection down to the Spittal substation in Caithness, And then we're also exploring an option to power the Flotta hydrogen hub. So that'll be a private wire connection, so a private connection between the wind farm and Flotta, effectively to transfer electrons from the wind farm into the hydrogen hub. And again, the kind of attraction for Flotta is, again, Scapa di Orkney, the ability to essentially export hydrogen into the global market, either on vessels or into the UK market via pipeline. And we'd hope to start construction offshore in around 2027, first power in 2029, and then the construction schedule would be around 5 years. We're also working with Scrabster Harbour with a view to making that our operations and maintenance port. So that would be a sort of a 35-year kind of contract effectively with Scrabster Harbour Trust to operate out of that port. The reason for effectively pushing towards Caithness first is that we have a signed grid connection agreement. So we have a contracted position with National Grid that we need to provide power to the grid by 2029, and indeed they need to be in a position to receive it. Effectively within the footprint of the existing Flotta oil terminal, there are a sort of tank field that stretches out sort of to the southwest, and it's really within that area that we would look to hopefully develop new hydrogen infrastructure, again trying to be sensitive to the local environment, landscape, etc.
You know, this is nothing new for Orkney, is it? It's got a long, long history as a trading maritime nation, and if you turn the map slightly, it becomes the centre of the world.
So I was in Stromness last summer for a week's holiday, and you wander around Stromness, and it's only a wee place, and you wander around it, and there's blue placards on the older houses, and you just get a sense of as you say, the maritime history of the place. I mean, you even just reading the blue placards without even going into the museum, you sort of realise, all the Stromness men and the Orkney men who started off there on their way down to the South Atlantic to go whaling, or up to the north of Canada to go whaling, or the Hudson Bay Trading Company guys, they'd come to Orkney to offer jobs to the Orkney guys to go over to work with them, and partly because they wanted seafarers, but also because they just wanted people that they knew they could rely on to go over there and get on with the trade. And it's just incredible. It's dead impressive actually as well, sort of wandering around there. And it's the same, in Kirkwall and up in Shetland as well. I've got equivalent stories about that. So, and you look over Scapa Flow from Stromness, looks over Scapa Flow, and this huge natural harbour, which was at one point filled with the Royal Navy battleships, but huge natural harbour that could hopefully be used in some of the ways that Alf and Mike and Geordie were talking about.
Yeah, huge potential.